Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to the end of yet another week. It is the State of the Canyon. It is the first State of the Canyon for the month of November. We're into November. And let me start by saying this. Coursework, like next to zero. Whatever I got at Shacktoberfest, and Shacktoberfest occurred on the 22nd of October, I still haven't fully gotten rid of it yet. And it is obnoxious. Like, I'm not, it's one of those things, it's better to be terrible or truly great. As much as it's a weird thing to say, like, I would prefer to just be sick so that I can say, oh, I'm sick. Because everybody's like, oh, you've been doing this and doing that and doing this and making videos. And yeah, I just generally feel like crap most of the time. But I don't feel like enough crap to not work on rigs, to not do tests, to not film videos. Come on, I can film videos. In my sleep, the brain-to-mouth interface is basically superfluous at this point in the process. So, what has gotten done? You saw the start of 24 and 25. They are in the works. We're going to get to that more in a second. More important is about what's coming up. So I am into a full mode of options overload. 24 is begun. 25 is done. I have accumulated almost all the parts for the FRD. I've started working on the chassis for designing the chassis for the hardbody Bronco. I don't know when I did that today. I have started working on the chassis and layout for the Tulo. I have started accumulating parts to sort of update and usable-ify the old Losi comp crawler. Been doing some work on that. I've got bins set aside where I'm putting pieces away for builds that are already in progress. And more, so what the release schedule is on all that stuff, like when is the next installment of 24 going up? When is the next installment of 25 going up? When are the first installments of 26, 27, 28, on and on? I don't know. I don't know. There's only a couple things that I do know, which is with greatest immediacy, there's a junk view coming up immediately. The Hot RC CT6A, that will be junk viewed almost immediately. And when I say almost immediately, I mean filmed, edited, in the can, beyond in the can, already uploaded, scheduled. Scheduled, that's the word we're looking for. Immediately after that, and I will not address any comments, I will not answer any questions. Yeah, that's coming up. A couple days already. Okay, I will address this. I mention it in the quick view, of course. This will be the first ever 3-part quick view. Part 1 is the RTR. Let's get our first impressions. Part 2 is what I call forensics, where we're going to look at the gear ratios. We're going to look at everything, the geometry, full teardown and put it back together. And then part 3 of that quick view is performance enhancement, because I'm going to do this potentially so that you don't have to. You all, the regulars here, all know my feelings on Red Cat, and I had to push those feelings far over to the side in order to initiate what we have initiated. So, those Power Hobby tires, the like little mini pins that look like they're copying bow ties from 20 years ago. There's a set of those inbound. Those will be tested. I've got some servo tests coming up, including, sitting right over here on the bench, big old Savox 2290. We'll be running a test on that one. I have a couple other servos inbound for testing, potentially up in at some point in November. We will have a couple more It's All Content installments where I'm wheeling around rigs that came in, where we just kind of do the micro spa day, where a rig comes in, I go through it, clean out whatever needs to be cleaned, adjust what needs to be adjusted, take it out, drive it, it goes on the scales, we see the balancing, we see all that stuff. It's cool because I call that grandkids, because it's like having, I don't have grandkids, but it's like having grandkids because you get all the benefits of a rock crawler because I just drive it and then it goes away. I don't have to, I don't have to maintain it. I don't have to replace broken parts. I don't have to do any of that. It's just here and then it's gone. It's kind of really nice. So, too much content. Like, I regularly and routinely don't know which project I should be working on at any given moment. Oh, I neglected. These are the pre-patinaed wheels that will be going on Old Blue, and mounted on those will be Bounty Hunters, because we'll now have 2 rigs rocking the Bounty Hunters, and you'll notice there's only 2, because I'm an idiot, and I put them in the cart, and I placed my order, and didn't even pay attention, and the package showed up, and it was a tiny little padded mailer, and I go, that doesn't look big enough, and sure enough, I went back and looked at my order, and I ordered a pair. So the other pair, according to tracking, is on the postal vehicle as we speak. So Old Blue will get mounted up on his own set. Rusty has been sitting on his shelf with no wheels and tires since that the 1080 G2 experiment. I also have a 1080G. Oh my goodness. I have a 1080 G2 for install in Toothless. Toothless is bound to get that. I have that HV low profile servo from Injora. That still needs tested. The snowball is building and building and building and building. And we'll get to stuff as we get to stuff. I did, as was mentioned in the comments, someone said E-Revo body, 16th E-Revo, is popular for the old sporties. I searched for a Sportsman crawler body. I'm still searching for it. I just want one of those Mojos that they sell through Deluxe, and it's unobtainium. You can't get it. So I'm putting a little Traxxas E-Revo body on it. It's going to have a very simple paint job. That one should be here anytime, along with a bunch of parts, like I said, to semi-update the comp crawler to keep it usable. And I did wheel it around a little. Again, from the comments, somebody said squirt some grease in there. So I squirted Super Lube, which is basically just Teflon in a carrier, in one axle, and I squirted CV joint grease in the other axle. And yeah, that rig is extremely grease dependent. The motor, 0 heat in the motor now. Like, it doesn't even get warm. So the CV joint axle stays ice cold. So it doesn't even warm up at all. So CV joint grease will be the grease moving forward. I need to procure, it's buried in there somewhere, the little Protec syringe with the shock grease in it. I just need to find on Amazon. I need to get some of those plastic syringes, fill one with the joint grease so that I can keep that thing lubed, because you basically have to lube it almost every time you drive it. The maintenance. So I'm going to be going through that guy. I want to work on a servo. I want to work on servo bracketry so that I can just fit something more normal no matter where I have to place it in the vehicle, even if it has to have a big long linkage to actuate the dig, because I want front rear dig, and as it is set up now with that wonky linkage, I can only get rear dig. And I was supposed to start filming this installment about an hour ago, but I came out here, and here's what always happens. So you saw this guy very recently. This is how I determine overdrive and underdrive ratios now. I literally just put 2 pieces of tape on it, and then I power it, and I count the revolutions. So all this guy has is an 27 in the front. So it is 9%. The math works out. So I started fiddling with this, and I'm not even 100% sure that it is the linkage. I think the linkage could be made to work. Here's what I think the problem is. If I can find this guy. This is sort of what I've arrived on at this point, where the point we are in the work. So this is a decimal insertion part of, it came from the Workbench 25. This is canon. This goes in the episode. So here's where the servo horn is. Right? We can see I've removed the little extension pin, and I don't have the horn coming down. I've just got the little adapter. So if we put this guy into full dig, and we have the servo mounted here, and I tried it with the servo mounted the other way as well to see if that made a difference, you see that this goes past the plane of that, right? And then when it's all the way in, it's right over there. I think, and this is what I'm operating, this is the potentially foolhardy position that I'm operating off of. I think the spline on this servo needs to be further back. It needs to be much closer to the imaginary line drawn by when this is in full dig. Like, we want this thing in full dig with the horn pretty much as close to straight up and down as we can get it. And then the forward motion will push it into gear, because it is much easier to put it into gear than it is to pull it into dig. So, I have that guy disconnected. I copied this, and in the divine wisdom of Axial, these holes are exactly 4.5 millimeters, which is a super common drill bit size, as I'm sure you know. But luckily, I have a full drift of numeric bits. This is a number 14. So I have made this extension platform. I have a 4409 that I'm working on, and we're going to go a horn with the double blitz short balls. So I'm going to drill this gentleman, the little extendo. There he is. The little extendo is 2.5 millimeter. I'm going to drill him out. I'm not. He's 2.5 millimeter. I'm going to re-tap him to 3 millimeter. I'm going to insert a blitz ball, which is now a Firestorm. Blitz is still selling them. HPI is still selling them, the blitz balls. So this will attach to the bottom of the linkage there, and at full hook back, this horn should be straight up and down, and I'm hoping that this will allow the vehicle to push out of dig much more easily. And by pure random chance, I got this to work on the first try. It actually fits and holds. So, what we need to do now, and by we, I mean me, you're gonna continue doing what you're doing. I'm going to chop up some Delrin, and I'm going to make the standoffs to mount the servo on here. I need to do that. So I will get my measurements. This guy, I already have a scribe line. Does the scribe line show up? There it is. Did I talk about my... Have I talked about this? I need to talk about this. So, when you're working with metal, when you're working with basically anything, even transferring over from woodworking, I've been using this Starrett combination square for 30 years-ish, right around 30 years. Buy a quality tool, and it will last you a lifetime, as they say, and this one does. It comes with a scriber in the top. This is just hardened steel, and this is a size that is not compatible with my life philosophies, so I'm constantly afraid that I'm going to lose that. So, as I love Stahlwheel, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I would say Stahlwheel, right? Could be Stahlwheel, I don't know. So, this is one of my favorite tools of all time. I've mentioned it too many times, the super thin motor wrench. I was looking for other Stahlwheel tools, and this is a tungsten carbide scriber. It's amazing. I think I talked about it in another video, but give me a break. I've been sick for 2 weeks. It's shaped like a pencil. I love wooden pencils. They're everywhere around here. I'm a wooden pencil guy. That's that woodworking background. It's heavy, and that tungsten carbide point is so sharp. It makes the most perfect scribe lines. And when you're using stuff with lubricants, scribe lines don't wash off. You don't wash them off with WD-40 or brake cleaner, and they stay, which is nice. And it doesn't cut them in deep. Like, you can't even feel that there's a scribe on there. It's just a really easy to see line. So, I'm going to take you along with me a little bit. We're not moving the camera. We're not doing anything. I need to keep it clipping. I'm going to make the brackets. I dug, and I did. I wasted 15 minutes before I turned the camera on trying to find servo standoffs when I could easily have made them in the amount of time I looked. So we're going to get this guy mounted right there. So I will measure the size of the blocks of Delrin that I need to cut. I will drill them. I will tap them. I will drill out the holes in this to mount the block. And then we're going to find out if my theory works. Because the dig performance on here is sad-making. This is just kind of, this is just becoming this is becoming 25.3, isn't it? Kind of, a little bit in this weekly update. Someone had said, do a forward motor mount. I don't know if anyone does it. And if they do, you can see where the line of the motor is. The motor is just inside the chassis rail. So the motor would be, I don't think the motor would fit. Because up here, the shock towers have already started to pinch. And, maybe with an outrunner, but also look at how much, like, this thing is way out. That spur gear is way out in front. So it would move the weight a little bit forward, but honestly, I don't think that it would help with the CG at all. Like, the gearbox puts the motor up pretty high. We haven't been to the scales. We're not going to be to the scales until this thing starts to behave. And, all right, it's 25.3. It's official. Weekly update / 25.3. We've done this before. These are 100 millimeter shocks. They're coming off. I'm going to dig in the bin. I'm going to grab whatever set of 90s. These are 2.3 pound. I am going to go to, I'm looking at the board. If I can get Traxxas Orange, or Traxxas Orange would be great, because that's 2 pound. That's a nice step down. We're going to 90s. We're going to go down in rate from the 2.3s because, also, like, here's why. Let me show you here. So to anyone who has said that the shocks are probably fine, the shocks are not fine. Because even if we rated down and we got to about here, which is still not level, I can only get to level. That's just above level, which is all the way down. The hundreds are not going to get you there. This is the, what's touching? The steering link is stopping direct compression. That shouldn't be a problem, though, because it doesn't impact here. But this is the problem if I didn't exhibit it before. That's too much. That's too much. It's 5.5 inches. It's just over 5.5 inches. I would like to be in the 4.5 range. I would like to be about there. And I think 90s will get us closer to that. I have, like I say, there's nothing we can do in the front. We're as high and as far back as we can get. We can go one higher in the back, which would bring it down to about there. But, like you can see, it's still pretty stink bugged. It's over drooped. This is not a chassis. This chassis is a little more campy. So it's not built for the kind of extreme stuff that Ghost Rover does. So we need to tame this down. So these hundreds are coming off. And also, I have not noticed any leaks from these yet. So, I don't know. Axial might have done it. They might have done it. What I need to do, we're going to switch the camera off. We're going to put Apex Twin back on. I am going to get this servo mounted. And we're going to go through that process. And we're going to see if I can't remedy this dig. And yes, part of me was like, just build the bracket for the micro. And I might. But for the purposes of this, because this is a 7 kg, and I think this one's a 9. So it's not like we're talking about a huge amount more power. I'm not really worried about the weight. This guy is For whoever in the comments said 5.8, I think you're way over on that. Even with the wheels and tires. He's got brass rings in the front. What did I say? 862, something like that for the combo? Did I say? Oh, man. I can't remember yesterday. I can't remember nothing. I'm going to fix this bracket, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, folks. This is a pretty straightforward operation. As I mentioned, if it's tapped to 2.5, you drill to 2.5 to tap to 3.0. So you just run a tap through it. This is a Ukusani for drift cars. They're very low profile broached ball studs because with this servo horn is not perfect. You see that in drive, it's a little bit forward. I wanted it to be more straight up and down, which would require moving the servo in, and based on where the mounting point is, I could just get in there. So if this isn't as smooth as I want it to be, this will indeed be revision 1 of this, because I'll only have to just remake the plate. These came out fine. There's that the pucker times running the table saw. I make myself a little holder, a push block to get these through, because I buy 10 millimeter Delrin and got to cut it down to 7. So the 2 sides are on. It's all bolted on. This is the grand total. This is the sum total throw. I mean, that's dig. Oh, actually, let's do this. Okay, so now we're in cruise control, so I can come back here. Here's my dig. See, the linkage, if you recall back to the other one, the linkage was just rotating around. So the way I have it set up now is straight pull. It just, a little more, there we go. It just pulls that knuckle straight back. End point, 15% one direction, 20% the other. So we're using no messy noises going into or out of dig. So as of now, sitting here on the bench, obviously very hopeful that this is going to be the hot ticket. Will it be? I honestly, I can't say. I don't know. I think I fixed some engineering, but to find out, we're going to have to, let's rock it. I'm going to punch the pivot balls out of these. I can take a little closer look at these now as well to see, do we have any tails of wetness? No. These look real good. They feel good too. These won't get cast aside. The beauty of being a at least semi-humanoid that builds RC cars, toy cars, somewhat from scratch. Oh, man. Traxxas rod ends. I have lauded Traxxas rod ends in the past. They are so beefy that ordinarily I do the press down on the counter, but hey, do they fight? So one of my this is just a routine strategy here is, if shocks come off, I will pop all of the hollow balls out and put them into whatever shocks are going on. Just like all of my rod ends. Where's my rod ends? Like, I have like 8 bins of rod ends. This is how my rod ends are stored. I don't store a hollow ball in anything, and I don't store a rod end on a link, because you never know what you're going to need. And you've got the little Vanquish style end links. You've got this style of axial style. You've got TRX4 style. You've got Revo and Jado, and they're all different lengths. So if you can't get that link that's like perfect, I'm going to guess here. That's going to be our guess starting hole. I had to dig. Now, here's one. Y'all know me, man. I have this obsession with organization. Like, things must be just so, I don't know, chalk that up to whatever. But my shock spring situation is awful. Because I don't really have, I have not made a mechanism to store them properly. So this has been one of 3, and it's a nightmare. Finding the 4 springs to fit this was like some sort of self-inflicted punishment. I managed to procure 4 Traxxas White, which are 1.6 pound, which is a bigger jump than I had wanted to make. I had wanted to go to orange 2 pound, and I managed to find 1 orange spring, which is particularly frustrating after you've gone through all the bins 3 times, and you know full well that other orange one's in there. It is in there, and I will find it, or more likely, we will just end up converting these shocks, this set of GTS. If this is the set, could throw some Dravtex on here. We don't know where we're going to end up. So I literally cannot. I'm trying to do the bench press down on the bench. I literally cannot get that in there. Let's see. I know the camera doesn't really translate how hard I'm squeezing on that, but I feel it in my shoulder. The bottom end I can mostly pop in. So we have so many shock and spring options that don't even involve buying anything. I'm not opposed to another set of 2660s. I'm not opposed to Dravtex. I'm not opposed to just, like, with a few exceptions. There have been some notable exceptions. Shocks are chosen based on how they work. How they work is definitely number 1, and how they look is a distant second, in most cases. The beauty of only having 1 lower shock mounting position is that we can bolt the wheels on with impunity and not worry that we befouled the whole thing. This has been a running theme for me and Zoku chassis. That being, I don't like the OE shock once it's converted. When I did the straight axle conversion, put in Eddie when Eddie went on a Zoku, did not like it on those shocks. Switched shocks. Every Zoku has gone to a shorter shock because the chassis is just, I guess the term is more efficient, so we don't need all that travel. We don't need the extra amount of travel from the shock. So these hundreds may well have been fine on the C channels. Or they're going back to the throwback. 100 mils on everything. 100 mil in this fleet, in this building. Ugh! Now, not taking into consideration the ones that are too small to fit that. Like, there's definitely more 80s than there are hundreds here. So I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to go right there. That's sort of semi-centered. Shocks 100 and longer are really located to guys that are built different. Literally built different. Ghost Rover, Zoidberg, RoboKitty. But, like, I'm not... Oh, sorry, Luffy. I'm not slapping hundreds on element rigs, stuff like that. The shock needs to fit, and it needs to work right. And I have not yet found a situation where, starting from a stock standpoint, like some pre-existing geometry, presumably somewhere out there, there are this type, non-twin vertical plate, non-caged out. So, but like my Capra cage is on 90s. Somewhere out there, there have to be rigs built specifically around 100s. And the thing of it is, why am I every single one? I try to push it in without the tool. That was the easiest one, I'll give it. But I every rig here, I'm trying to think. Okay, so RoboKitty doesn't count, right? That's a riff. That's a whole different thing. But Zoidberg and Ghost Rover both have chassis specifically built from the ground up to accommodate longer shocks, longer travel. Do I think that the base camp is built specifically for hundreds? Nothing about it makes me think that. Axial's just trying to bring back hundreds, I guess? Now, in the dream world, I set this thing down, and it just sits perfectly. I realize that the odds are pretty firmly against that. It's nice. It's genuinely nice not having the shocks in the... You know what, you guys? There's a part of me, other stories. So when this was built before any kind of RC stuff came into it. It's just leftover ABS from when I was doing Scion parts. And it's not super functional for the way I'm using it. So do I want to rebuild this whole... And it goes all the way down the bench. It's like 7 feet long. Do I want to rebuild that to hold more paint bottles, to get Luffy and friends up off the thing, to make it so the grease containers fit better? Yeah, I mean, sure I do. But then, the laziness, it comes on in and it takes over. So this is how I was doing overdrive. I would just count the revolutions. See, there's one for the rear, one for the front. I'm sorry, 2, 3, and then at a point they'll line up. 4, 5, and if I remember right, it's at 6. Oh, it's just before 6. I just did the math. 6 to 5, you divide 5 by 6, and it's like 91 or something, like 0.91 or whatever. So that's 9%, which is exactly what that exchange of ring gear should do. I have tried it on other rigs that I don't know. Like, I know what this guy was supposed to be, so when it came out to 9%, I was like, we've done it! Because I've been trying to figure out overdrive and underdrive ratios on other rigs where I don't know what the number is. I picked the gears and or built the gearbox, and I changed a bunch of stuff, and I did the numbers on paper, and math was never my strength. It's not my strong subject. I'm okay with arithmetic, but I can't do the arithmetic here because I'm not 100% sure what all the numbers are. So we've I hope, isolated the underdrive and overdrive ratios of both this one and another rig that has underdrive, who you might be throwing guesses out as to who that is. So this guy, it should be here in the next day or two. Oh, yeah. Front actually still looks... does the front look a little high to me? Yeah, front looks a little high and or the rear looks a little low. I would say the front looks a little high. The rear is looking a lot closer to what I wanted it to look like. So, you know what? Did I put the wrench away? Nope. Right here. So let's do it. Yeah, hundreds were just way too long. So we'll just go right up one hole. And again, to everybody who said lighter springs, yeah, for sure, those 2.3s were too stiff. And the other one that we're going to have to address, and I guess I'm going to have to address it by, we have two options. We've got money and we've got trial and error. I've never, oh no, wait, nope, nay. We may end up with there's a third option that may be a sort of it's all content adjacent installment. The SA75 that's in here is programmable. This is programmable in big letters right there under 12 volt. This servo, I don't know if in my life I have ever encountered an instance where I thought, that servo is too fast. But that servo is too fast. It's distractingly fast. There are servos that claim that 0.09, 0.08, I've seen 0.06. I mean, that's just when you let the wheel go. It's too fast. It's too fast. So, we can try programming it. I have a programmer somewhere over here in a bin. I've never programmed a servo before in my life. I don't even 100% know what the process is to do that. Or, alternately, we can just go through the bins and see what we've got servo-wise. I think the way this thing is laid out with the laydown servo, I think it just needs a lot less torque and a lot less speed. This is a lot. How are we sitting? Yeah, the CG on this, because all of this stuff is so high, I don't think that will I ever sound normal again? We're just going to do we're going to do a little tuck here. We're just going to shove wires into there. I don't think anybody is long enough to get into the spur gear. So I would like to clean these wires up a little more. But oh no. This was the only part I was resistant to, which was Ghost Ride V2. He's going to get painted. He's going to get painted this weekend. For sure. Him and Clank, at the minimum, are getting painted here in the next 72 hours. We will also see... Oh, he sits so much better already. So this is very uncanyon-like here, what we've just done. You've come aboard for this. We're going to see... and those 1.6s... Okay, the damping feels quite nice. I'm not going to make any judgments on spring rate yet. I do have lighter in full-size springs. Obviously, I have heavier. I have a stack over here. These are Traxxas, what I call clears, because they just they clear coat the natural color spring and has no band on it. These are 2.4 pound. Not alarmingly heavy. I mean, these that we took off, these are 2.3s. I have 12 of these. I'm starting to think that, you know how it's a common occurrence here in the canyon to build a rig to a body. I think I need to build a rig to those springs because I have 12. 42. I could outfit 3 rigs with Traxxas clears. And all we got to do is just build a chassis similar in shock tower configuration, but that has more laydown, and then we can get those 2.4s on there. Get them down to about 45 degrees. That's going to cut the rate by, 40%? Something like that? That'll get them basically down into the rate that these are. Usable! Like Ghost Rover is running the heaviest rear springs I have. I think they're 3.8s. That's stiff. So, let's find out. How much of the problem is actually the hunk? And how much of the problem was being oversprung on overly long shocks that now, do I even have a drawer I'm going to have to clear out another drawer to put these hundreds away. Because when shocks are fully assembled in sets, I try to put them in little drawers so that they don't just get... so it doesn't look like the rest of the apocalypse that's happening on the bench behind me. Now is the time. I do not want to cut these front fenders off, but we may at the least get to where I have to cut off this vertical portion. I've had to do that on the Phoenix, the Phoenicians. Is it sitting too high in the rear, or... I don't know. No. We will let the rocks decide and not my random opinions. I can say with certainty. Oh yeah. Almost like an endorphin release. He is significantly less bouncy now. Far less bouncy, which makes sense. Heavier weight. No. More damping. Not heavier weight oil. Much lighter springing, so the compliance is up. Oh yeah! Still a little hop. Oh, but it's so little. The hunk might not be the absolute perfect tire for this. It might not be. But I feel like I'm almost committed to it. Angry Lexan noises remain fairly minimalized. Oh, tried to push that rear up, just stayed down. I didn't even bother to take the pinstriping tape off. Get across right here, right there. Had to come in lower. Oh, it's so much better. Look, dig. Oh, managed to shuck one of the pieces of tape. Oh, the dig is just, the dig is like lightning. It just engages and disengages. Oh, it's so good. Oh, this, ladies and gentlemen, this helps. Because in general, with few exceptions, Fridays and Wednesdays being the big exception, because they are two of the Canyon's primary, these are installments. There's Wheelin' Wednesday and the weekly update on Fridays. Everything else is all loosey-goosey and moves around. So everything else that you see, with rare exceptions, is in sequence. They may not be related to one another, but the video you watch on a Saturday, 96 times out of 100, was filmed before the video that is filmed on Sunday. This being the exception on Friday. So I will go through, just because of the universe, I guess, long stretches of junk view, it came from the Workbench installment, something else, right? Where everything goes, everything is 7 out of 10, baby. And you just need that, when I brought this guy out and the dig just crushed me. The whole time I'm wrenching on it this time, which involved trying to fix the dig, and I'm going to stay in it here. Trying to fix the dig, which I think I did, and trying to fix his tiggery, springy boinginess. I think I did that too. So here on a Friday, we're 2 for 2. And in the next proper installment of the Chronicles of Zobazu, he will be painted 100%. I've gotten a lot of good suggestions in the comments, and honestly, I don't know where I'm going. He will be patina. He will be patina just because if you looked closely at the body, that thing has to be a patina at this point. It has been semi-murdered already, And I'm also trying to take into consideration all the, like, this body's going to look good because it's got all the little plastic bolty-on pieces. Want to hit the bean again, right? I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. These tires are soft. Like, they're really soft. They might not show the amount of compliance that they have, but they are soft. And it genuinely feels to me like it wants something even softer. But what is softer than this? Aside from going to that extreme of, like, leaving some bagginess between the insert and, you know, don't fill the tire out all the way. But aside from... Oh, this is ill-advised. Oh, the dig, though. Oh, it digs so tight. I don't know where to go insert-wise. Like, because right there, that little cut through, brilliant. And I don't want to move, like, we've got that imaginary ball. I don't want to move the traction too far one way. Because at the end of the day, I really want to like the hunks. And I do like the hunks. And they look amazing on this guy. So I'm gonna remain irrational because I don't think anybody has the horsepower to stop me. I mean, the hunks are not... We build the bodies. I think in this case, I think I'm going to make an effort, a decided effort, a determined effort. A little dig here. He digs so good. These tires love dig. I am going to tune to the tires instead of the other way around. Tire to the tune is the normal approach. Because these tires they are 95% of what I want. And do we have other options? Yeah. Do I think they'll look as good as these? No. And I don't think it's the wheels either. I'm not averse to changing the wheel if the paint job comes out. Oh, I don't know, when he cuts the frame like that. Maybe I'm talking out both ends here. I'm starting to feel like I think on some rigs, I think I want a vertical white stripe on the outsides of the tires. I feel like it's helping me. Like, I'm watching the way the tire grips. Like, you can tell, you can ID the slip a little more quickly. This guy is a straight axle rig that doesn't necessarily drive like he's straight axled. His clearances are great. Oh, he's so good now. And what did we do in terms of tuning? Nothing. I feel like it's as much educated guessing as anything. It's the Groundhog Day. You get to know everything just by trying everything over and over again. Little hang there, but very minor. I think I got the pumpkin in a little much. Or that might be the frame, actually. There we go. Oh. I wanted the dig so much that I felt like the universe was going to betray me. Look at him go. And then I fixed it. Did I fix it? I fixed it. I fixed it. I thought a thought. And then I made that thought into a thing. And lo and behold, it worked. And I don't think it has anything to do with the little wee babby Injora. I would be more than willing to rebuild that servo bracket for the dig specifically to accommodate that little micro, because I think he can do the job. We'll look, you know what? We will leave that up to physics. This guy in his next official installment, which will be what? Because we got to number this one, will be 25.4. Hey, that's how many millimeters are in an inch. In 25.4, we'll do the whole corner balance. I can look at the links and the anti-squat, because I think we can manipulate the links enough to be happy with the tire, because I like these tires and I want them. And look at him pull. Am I willing to entertain going to a Canyon super soft in the front and effectively bagging out the front end because the insert won't fill the tire? Well, I'll let you know in a second. Because side hilling is an unfortunate reality that we must all at some point endure. And mushy smushy fronts are not particularly conducive to side hilling. I've sort of taken a liking to making this entry into Quaylen bad. There's that little hole down there, and I'm trying to see if the suspension unloads into the hole and we just slide into it. The maneuverability of this tire is so good, real high on that passenger side, and we don't have that collapse in the front. The passenger front does not feel particularly light. I can manipulate. Oh, I got too high of an angle. We'll try a much higher angle of attack here. Oh! I think I could have caught it with dig. So I will contend, I will argue that the rear insert is not too firm. But I agree. I think the front may well be. Now, I don't think I can make a judgment as to whether or not the spring rates are on. I honestly think we could get away with a 2-pound in the rear, going from the 1.6 to a 2, and just going up a shock hole. So just firming up the rear end overall, because I feel like there's a little bit of over collapse there. There's not much weight on that passenger front, but yeah, see, he goes real light. I think it's driving to that lightness, though, that we're torque lifting that wheel. And again, 60 grams of added weight on the rig, not a wildly heavy wheel set, so sprung to unsprung could probably be a little better. The tires have enough drive. I feel like they have enough drive. It's not, I don't think we're having a forward drive issue. I think we're having a sprung to unsprung, which we've made no geometry adjustments at all. So I would say that would be the way to go, particularly because I'm not a crazy fan of a lot of the 10-3 straight knuckle options. I just want something tanky that I can slap on there. Somebody needs to tell me, is there a difference in the caster and camber angles of the 10 Pro C-Hub versus the C-Hub on the AR-45 straight? Because sometimes I see sellers selling one knuckle for for both. And then sometimes I look at the knuckle and I go, well, that's not right. Because for sure, 100%, the angle built into the C-hub is different on a 44 than it is on a 45. There's much less on a 45. So if you put a 44 knuckle on it, it makes them pigeon-toed, like the wheels like stick out. It puts a bunch of camber into them, negative camber into them. I would just like to throw some heavy. I know Injora makes some for 10 Pro that have a bolt-on weights that can bolt onto the knuckle. I would love to get those, but I don't know if they fit. And I don't want to go to the absolute nuclear extreme of putting a 10 Pro axle on the front of this, because it'd still be offset, etc., etc. I'm not opposed to this axle that much as I bang it into a rock. It just, that right there, that was servo. It was so fast that when I let it go, it literally threw the rig off the top of the rock. So I would say paint is number one. Following, which means I have to get, shortly after this, I'm going to make myself something to eat for lunch. We're coming up on lunchtime. And I am going to fire up the Cricut. I'm going to scan the decals, the window masks, because I feel like there's going to be a bunch of them. Not quite a Phoenix quantity, but I feel like there's going to be a bunch of them because that back window looks like it's segmented. I'm going to scan those masks, cut those masks. I'm painting that thing today. It's a beautiful day. We got a forecast high of 85 degrees. Perfect day to paint. In between now and when we meet again, I will have decided what color this thing is going to be, and I will have painted it that color. If I have to make a trip to the Lowe's to get a can of paint or two, so be it. I would prefer to use what I have on hand, and God dang it, Bobby, you got to stop rolling that thing. I got to stop rolling this thing. So honestly, it seems like it's better at everything, but side hill didn't really get any better, and I don't know. We're going to canyon it. We're going to attack it from a bunch of angles at once. We need geometry changes. I think I want to firm up the rear end, soften up the front insert, but firm up the rear suspension. Put in a little bit more anti-squat in it. We've got plenty of adjustment holes in the chassis. We've gone from this thing made me a little bit sad to now we're in tuning. I was seeing if I could dig it around. Nope, that's a rollout. That lightness in the front, how much of that front lightness can we correct without throwing weight on it? That's the question, because you can, I don't know if you can feel it. Driver front on the high side, so light. Try to keep it down, keep it down. Seeing it lift? I don't know if it's all collapse. I don't know if the front axle is too light. He's a lifter. That wheel's not touching. He's a lifter, but man, he's so controllable now, and the dig is so good. We're definitely in a better place than we were when we started, for sure, 100%. Stay tuned for all the stuff we got coming up. I just realized how hungry I am. This guy's getting painted today. He may indeed show up on the community board or on Instagram for his next installment. We don't know. I don't know. You don't know. We don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm committed to those hunks. Look how good they are. We're going to tune to the tire. I thank you for watching. I invite you to comment below. We love the comments. If there's anything I forgot to address. I will state here in the last. Someone asked about cutting bodies. I'll try to get like a quick up or something up in the upcoming week to show how I do it. I would never claim that I have the best method. I know there are people that get great results like using a razor knife to score and snap. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not that guy. I use like 4 tools total to do bodies, and I will show you what those 4 tools are. We'll get through that. I will get this guy painted. I'm still running it over in my head. I will see you in the next one. I thank you for watching. Do all the stuff. I'm not even going to go through it. Do all the stuff. And y'all come back now, you hear?